What if everything that ever happened to you, every heartbreak, every delay, every coincidence wasn't random at all? What if it was all part of a divine pattern, and you just weren't taught how to read it? The universe doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't force. It nudges. And those nudges, if you pay attention, can lead you straight to your destiny. There's something extraordinary happening behind the scenes of your life. Something that your physical eyes cannot see, but your soul can feel. It begins with a shift so subtle that most people miss it. You start feeling discomfort in places where you once felt at home. You find yourself surrounded by familiar faces, but your spirit feels isolated. You laugh, but it feels hollow. You achieve something, but it brings no satisfaction. And in those quiet moments when you're alone, something within you keeps asking, is this all there is? That question, that restlessness, that dissatisfaction, it's not a flaw. It's a signal, a divine message, a whisper from the unseen, inviting you to look deeper, to peel back the layers of illusion, and remember why your soul came here. In the first places you begin to notice this shift, the universe starts placing signs in your path. You start seeing repeated numbers 1111 to 122, for 144, not just once, but repeatedly, in the most random places. You glance at the clock, and it's 11:11. You pick up your phone, and a message comes in at 2:22. You check a receipt, and the total is for 144. These aren't just numbers. These are timestamps, markers on your soul's journey. Each one is a signal from the universe saying, pay attention. You're aligned. You're being watched over. But most people ignore them, brushing them off as coincidence. You're not most people. The very fact that you notice, that you question, that you feel something when these patterns appear, that is another sign. Your awareness is awakening. Your intuition is rising from the slumber of routine. You're starting to remember that this world is more than just what you see with your eyes. You're beginning to feel the unseen currents guiding you towards something greater than yourself. Then it starts happening more often. You begin to meet people who seem to speak to your soul. Strangers you've never met before tell you exactly what you needed to hear. A random conversation in a cab leaves you thinking for days. Someone you barely know encourages you at the precise moment you were about to give up. And it hits you, this can't be chance. These are divine appointments, sacred intersections. The universe sends people as messengers, sometimes for a lifetime, sometimes for a moment. But each one carries something meant to activate you, to awaken a dormant part of your spirit. You realize that some people didn't just enter your life, they were sent. Heartbreaks that you thought would destroy you suddenly begin to make sense. That person who left you without explanation, the job you were forced to quit, the friend who betrayed you, all of it starts to look different when you zoom out. It no longer feels like life was punishing you. It feels like life was protecting you, redirecting you, guiding you away from what was never meant for you and towards something far more aligned with your true self. It's not always easy to accept. At first, it feels like grief. But then, in the quiet aftermath, you find peace you didn't expect, a deep knowing that something higher was at play. That's a sign. When pain starts turning into wisdom, you're aligning with divine flow. You start noticing a pattern in your own behavior. Certain things no longer resonate. You stop enjoying the things you once craved. Old habits fall away, not because you forced them, but because they feel foreign now. The things that once excited you now feel empty, and instead, you're drawn to stillness, to books, to prayer, to silence, to solitude that doesn't feel lonely. That's the universe preparing you for your next chapter. The inner shift always precedes the outer shift. You're being tuned like an instrument so you can hear the next melody of your destiny bit. It's not just people or numbers. The signs come in nature too. You pray and suddenly a feather floats down from the sky. You cry alone in your room and a butterfly lands on your window. You ask for clarity and see a rainbow in a place where it hasn't rained. These are not accidents. These are responses. Nature is one of the universe's purest messengers. It doesn't need to speak. Its presence communicates everything. Animals, clouds, stars, they all carry messages. You only need the eyes to see and the heart to feel. The more you notice, the more you're given. That's one of the secrets. When the universe knows you're paying attention, it sends louder signs. You might hear a song that speaks exactly what your heart needed to hear. You might open a book to a page that answers a question you haven't told anyone about. A dream might visit you at night, so vivid and powerful that you wake up shaken. That dream wasn't random. It was a download, a transmission from realms beyond your waking mind. And sometimes it's not a dream, but a sudden thought, a gut feeling that won't go away. That's your higher self nudging you to follow the light. You'll find yourself in conversations where someone says something ordinary, but it hits you like lightning. Trust the timing, they say casually, and suddenly your whole spirit calms down. That's how the universe speaks. It hides holy truths in simple words, because it knows only the open-hearted will catch them, and you did. That moment is a sign you're not lost. You're being led. You'll start feeling drawn to certain things you can't explain. A particular place, a word, a name. You feel a pull toward a certain path, even though logic tells you it doesn't make sense. But your heart knows that tug isn't a mistake, it's alignment. When you're drawn to something for no reason at all, it often means your soul remembers something your mind hasn't yet discovered. And sometimes you'll experience silence, a deep, haunting silence where you pray and nothing seems to answer, where signs feel distant, where you start to doubt. This too is a sign. The silence is not absence, it's preparation. It's the pause before the shift, the space before the breakthrough. When the universe is rearranging your life, sometimes the loudest thing you'll hear is nothing. But don't confuse silence with neglect. The universe is never absent. It's simply building in the background. Moments when you feel like giving up are often when you are closest to breakthrough. That exhaustion is a sign too. Not that you're failing, but that you're on the edge of transformation. When everything inside you screams to quit, and yet some quiet voice keeps you holding on. That voice is not yours alone. That's the divine inside you, refusing to let you fall. And that voice will only grow louder the more you listen. You'll start to hear it in your own words, in your own prayers. You'll surprise yourself with the wisdom that flows through you. That's another sign you're becoming a vessel. As you move forward, more signs begin to unfold. You'll find sacred numbers in your own birth date. You'll find scriptures that seem to be written just for your season. You'll stumble upon ancient words that feel like home. These aren't random findings. These are breadcrumbs on the path of your awakening. They were always there, you just had to lift the veil. And now you see, the signs are everywhere. You realize that even your struggles were signs, that the breakdowns were breakthroughs in disguise, that the things you lost were never truly yours, that what you were denied was the answer to a prayer you didn't know how to ask. Your setbacks were setups, your delays were divine alignments. Everything is speaking to you, everything is connected. You see that the universe doesn't operate by chance, it operates by divine intelligence. A script written by hands you cannot see, but a script that your soul has known all along. And as the realization deepens, you begin to walk differently. You no longer panic when things fall apart. You no longer beg for things that don't align. You no longer fear what's next, because you've seen too much. You've been shown too many signs. You now understand that everything unfolds in divine timing, that nothing real is ever lost, that you are not here by accident, and neither are the signs. You are here because you were called, you were guided, you were chosen. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the world outside grows quieter, and the voice within begins to grow louder, not with noise, but with a language only the heart understands. You look up at the sky, not to admire its beauty, but because something inside you aches for an answer, not the kind that fits neatly into words, but the kind that silences the noise inside your chest. And then it happens. A stillness washes over you, a calm that has no explanation. No one is around. Nothing changes in the physical world, yet something in you feels seen, held, heard. That calm, that sudden relief, that wave of peace that settles your soul even though nothing around you improved. That's not your imagination. That's the universe replying to your cry. That's the Creator reminding you that you were never alone. And your silent plea didn't go unnoticed. This is the beginning of a sacred conversation that doesn't need sound. The universe, like a careful painter, begins to leave messages in places you least expect. Your dreams begin to shift. What once felt like chaotic images now feels purposeful, almost guided. You begin to see symbols that recur. A person who passed away might visit you with a peaceful smile. A voice calls your name, not in fear, but in love. You might wake with tears in your eyes, not out of sorrow, but out of a strange sense of being comforted, as if someone far greater than you touched your soul and left traces of light behind. These dreams are not entertainment for the brain. They are spiritual downloads, communication that bypasses logic and speaks directly to your essence. The universe doesn't always use words. It uses sensation, symbolism, feeling, and then you begin to witness something even more mysterious. You make a silent prayer, not one that you share with the world, not one you even say aloud. Just a quiet, aching thought deep in your heart, and a few days later, the answer arrives, not always in the way you expect, but unmistakably clear. You read a quote that captures your exact feeling. Someone gives you advice that feels like it was made for your situation. A stranger says something random that unlocks clarity in your mind. These moments aren't coincidences. They are divine echoes. God hears your whisper and speaks back through life itself. The fabric of the world becomes a mirror, reflecting your internal dialogue in unexpected ways. This realization changes everything. You no longer see unanswered prayers as rejections. You begin to understand the concept of divine timing. What feels like a delay is often just divine patience. The universe is rearranging people, events, even your own heart to prepare for the answer you've asked for. And sometimes it doesn't arrive in the form you imagined, because the version you asked for wasn't big enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't real enough. The universe gives you not what you want, but what your soul truly needs. And that requires trust, the kind of trust that lives in silence, the kind that chooses belief even when the evidence hasn't yet arrived. You start to realize that the universe is teaching you to listen, not just with ears, but with intuition. You begin to feel when something is off. You can sense when a person's energy doesn't align, even if they smile in your face. You can feel when a room carries tension, even if everyone is silent. Your sensitivity sharpens, not because you're fragile, but because you're awakening. Your soul is learning to read vibrations, to feel truth before it is spoken. And you realize that this isn't a curse. It's a gift, a sacred one, the gift of discernment, the ability to hear what isn't said and see what isn't shown. Then comes the detachment. Slowly, without force, your soul begins to release what no longer serves its purpose. Things you used to enjoy now feel heavy. Relationships that once brought comfort now feel suffocating. You begin to seek out stillness more than stimulation. Solitude becomes your medicine, not because you hate people, but because your spirit is recalibrating. Your energy is healing. The universe often prepares people for new chapters by isolating them from the noise of their current one. In the silence, you hear your real thoughts. In solitude, you meet the real you. The version that doesn't perform, doesn't pretend, doesn't people please. Just you, raw, honest. Infinity. One of the clearest signs you're being guided is the increasing desire for authenticity. You no longer want to wear masks. You can't stomach small talk anymore. You crave depth, real conversations, meaningful connection, divine presence. You begin to find comfort, not in the applause of the crowd, but in the quiet approval of your conscience. You wake up and begin your day not chasing validation, but chasing alignment. You ask not, what do they want from me? But, what does my soul want from me today? That shift is a holy one. It means your compass is no longer controlled by the world. It is now aligned with the heavens, and then something strange begins to happen. You start seeing patterns in the chaos. Things that once felt random now appear interconnected. You reflect on a moment from years ago and realize it was the beginning of a story that only now makes sense. You see how the people who left made room for the people who stayed. You understand why some doors closed. They weren't locked to punish you, but to protect you from walking into a place not meant for your soul. This awareness is a sign of inner maturity. Your vision is no longer confined to the present moment. You've begun to see life with spiritual eyes, and when this awareness deepens, your relationship with pain transforms. You no longer curse your past. You honor it. Even the most painful chapters become sacred. You look at your wounds not as flaws, but as portals, openings through which light entered. When everything else was dark, you see that your pain softened you, humbled you, brought you to your knees, and it was in that humility that you found divinity. Not in strength, but in surrender. And this shift, This deep reverence for even the hardest moments of your life is one of the most powerful signs the universe sends. It means your heart is expanding. You're no longer resisting life, you're flowing with it. You begin to notice that your inner peace is no longer so easily disturbed. The things that used to send you spiraling now pass through you like wind through open windows. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to prove every point. You realize that your energy is sacred, and not everything deserves your reaction. That peace, that calm, that is a sign. It's a reward. It means you've reached a frequency where drama can no longer survive. Chaos tries to find you, but it doesn't stick. Your soul has become too light for heavy things to attach in. The synchronicities intensify. You think of someone, and they call. You dream of a place, and someone invites you there. You write a prayer, and its answer begins forming before you even finish speaking it. These synchronicities aren't just moments of magic. They are confirmations, signals from the universe that your vibration and your intention are finally in alignment, that your inner world is so tuned to the frequency of truth that the outer world can't help but reflect it back to you. And in this space of flow, you realize something profound, that the universe never stopped sending you signs. You were just too distracted to notice. The signs were in the tears you cried when no one understood you. They were in the books that fell off shelves at the right time, in the songs that came on exactly when you needed them, in the stranger's kindness, in the moment you almost gave up but didn't. Every step, every setback, every season had meaning, even the waiting, especially the waiting, because in the waiting, something changed inside you. You learned patience, you learned faith, you learned how to sit in uncertainty without collapsing. That growth was invisible to the world, but monumental in the realm of spirit, and the universe noticed. Every time you chose to keep going, even when everything screamed quit, that was noticed. And now, the signs are louder because your soul has earned them. You've passed invisible tests. You've survived inner storms. You've trusted when you had no reason to. And the universe always rewards the unseen resilience. You begin to receive dreams again, this time even clearer. Sacred names might echo in your sleep. You may hear Ya Rahman, Ya Hadi, Ya Salam. These aren't random words. These are divine attributes reaching you in the most intimate way. Each name holds a vibration. When they appear in your dreams, they are healing what words cannot. They are coating your soul with truths your waking mind cannot yet articulate. Then you might start hearing your name internally, not audibly, but spiritually, as if the sky itself whispers it, every time you pause to breathe. And when that happens, don't ignore it. You are being called, not to the world, but to yourself, to your Creator, to your truth. And in that calling, everything begins to align. Even your confusion starts to make sense. You realize that uncertainty was never a punishment. It was the space in which your real self could emerge, and as your awareness deepens, your path becomes clearer. Not because the world changes, but because you've changed. You now see things you once missed. You hear things you once ignored. You feel things you once denied. Your senses have sharpened. Your spirit has expanded. You have become a vessel that can now hold the signs, not just receive them. And in this transformation, you understand the most beautiful truth of all: the signs were never outside of you. They were always within, waiting for you to slow down, look inward, and remember who you've always been. Ever walked into a place and felt something shift inside you so deeply that it made your eyes water without warning? A place you had never been before, yet it felt like your soul had finally come home. The air was still, but your heart moved. The silence was loud, and yet your mind grew quiet. This isn't ordinary. This isn't about ambience or architecture. This is sacred energy. The universe has points of power scattered across this earth, places where the veil between the seen and unseen grows thinner. When your soul is ready for truth, for healing, for elevation, it draws you to these places, sometimes without explanation. You suddenly feel the urge to visit a city, climb a mountain, or sit beneath an ancient tree. And when you get there, you realize you were not the one searching. It was the universe that summoned you. These places are divine portals, and when your soul is ripe for awakening, they call you, not through words, but through an inner pull that won't go away. And when your soul hears that call, your life begins to rearrange itself. The people you love may start to grow distant, not because they stopped loving you, but because your soul is changing frequency. When you're being prepared for something higher, the universe clears the noise. You'll find that conversations feel heavier than usual. The same routine you once found joy in suddenly feels suffocating. You begin to crave silence over company, stillness over movement, solitude over celebration. You don't know why, but you feel like you're being called away from everything you once identified with. That calling is not a breakdown, it's a sacred shift. Your soul is outgrowing its old cage. The skin of your former self begins to crack. You're not falling apart, you're shedding. You're not confused. Your awakening discomfort is one of the clearest signs that your current life can no longer contain the version of you that is emerging. And the universe, in its infinite love, starts removing what can no longer follow you to your next chapter. People leave without closure. Opportunities vanish overnight. The job you loved begins to feel like a prison. The relationship you poured your heart into starts to feel like a weight. It can feel cruel. It can feel as though everything you've built is crumbling. But the truth is it's being cleared. What is not aligned with your future must fall. And the universe will do whatever it takes to release you from what you no longer need. Even if you're still attached, that's divine mercy. That's divine preparation. Your soul is being emptied so that it can be filled with what's true. When you're in this stage, signs start appearing more rapidly, but they don't always come in sweet, gentle forms. Sometimes they come through the ache of endings, through the strange sensation of knowing something is over before it officially ends. You feel the shift first. Your body reacts before your mind accepts it. Your heart begins mourning even while your lips are still speaking words of hope. You sense that a chapter is ending, even when the world tells you to hold on. Trust that feeling. That is a higher truth. It's not weakness to walk away from something that no longer fits your evolution. It's alignment. And once you begin obeying that nudge, life responds in miraculous ways. The universe speaks through energy. If something drains you every time you engage with it, that's a message. If a place feels heavy even though it looks beautiful, that's a message. If your body feels anxious in someone's presence, even if they've done nothing wrong on the surface, that's a message. Your spirit understands frequency. Long before your intellect catches up, your energy knows what's real and what's not. Listen to it. The signs are already within you. Your body speaks the language of intuition. The pressure in your chest, the lump in your throat, the shaking in your hands, these are divine alarms. And then come the moments that stop you mid-thought. You're walking down the street and suddenly you see something that speaks directly to your current struggle. A word on a billboard, a verse on a wall, a name in graffiti, something that shouldn't mean anything, but in that moment, it means everything. These are not accidents. These are signs. And the more you notice, the more you'll receive. The universe rewards awareness. When you pay attention to the whispers, you no longer need to be hit with storms. The earlier you heed the nudge, the less you need the earthquake. And there are signs that come from nature. You're deep in thought, lost in confusion, and a butterfly lands right in front of you. A bird perches near your window and sings in a rhythm that seems to match your heartbeat. You sit in silence, and the wind moves through the trees in a way that feels like an answer. These are sacred interactions. Creation responds to consciousness. The universe uses the natural world to reflect what's happening in your soul. If you're walking in peace, peace finds you in the petals of flowers and the softness of clouds. If you're seeking clarity, it shows up in the flight of a bird that crosses your path at the exact moment you asked for a sign. Nature is not background noise, it's a language. Learn to read it, and you'll never feel lost again. You'll also start noticing numbers everywhere, sequences that repeat until they can no longer be dismissed. 1111 appears not just once, but multiple times in one day. You look at a receipt, and it ends in 333. You check your phone and see 555. These numbers are not just numerics, they are vibrational messages. 111 signals alignment. 220 to remind you to trust the path. 333 whispers that you are being surrounded and supported by higher forces. 440 foretells you that protection is present, even when you feel vulnerable. 555 prepares you for transformation. These aren't just patterns. They are sacred codes sent to reassure your journey, and sometimes it's not about numbers or places. Sometimes it's a person. Someone you barely know says something that resonates so deeply that you wonder if they saw your thoughts. Someone walks into your life just as you were about to give up, and they offer you hope without knowing you needed it. These are divine messengers, not angels with wings, but human beings sent at just the right moment to remind you that you are not alone. And the most beautiful part, you begin to become this messenger for others. Your words start to carry healing. Your presence begins to offer peace. You don't even know you're doing it, but that's what happens when you align. You begin to radiate the energy you once sought. The deeper you move into this journey, the more you feel the unseen. Sometimes you'll walk into a room and feel a presence, a pressure, or even a warmth that wasn't there before. Don't dismiss it. You are not imagining things. Your spirit is now sensitive enough to sense realms beyond the visible. This is part of the awakening, the thinning of the veil, the cracking of the illusion. What was once hidden becomes undeniable, and with that awareness comes responsibility. You can no longer live in ways that dishonor your soul. The signs are too loud, the truth is too clear. You are being called to embody what you've always known, and as this inner transformation continues, the outer world begins to shift too. You attract opportunities that align with your values. People who match your frequency begin to show up. Conversations become richer, time becomes sacred, and life begins to feel like poetry. Not because everything becomes perfect, but because everything becomes meaningful. Even pain now has a place. Even loss feels like love in disguise. The signs have rewired you. You no longer need proof. You've moved into knowing. You don't need to ask if the universe is guiding you. You can feel it in your breath, in your walk, in the rhythm of your heart. And maybe the greatest sign of all is this: peace. Not the kind that comes when everything is going right, but the kind that sits with you in the chaos. That quiet assurance that even though you don't know how, everything is unfolding exactly as it should. That peace is the fingerprint of the divine. It's what shows up when you stop resisting and start trusting. And once you taste it, you'll never go back. You'll no longer crave control. You'll crave connection. You'll seek alignment over answers, presence over perfection. And in that sacred space, the signs become a symphony, playing a melody only your soul can hear. A melody that guides you home without a single word ever being spoken. Have you ever noticed how, at your lowest point, something completely unexpected seems to whisper hope into your life? A song playing in the background, with lyrics that feel like they were written for your situation. A stranger offering help, without knowing your pain. A message on a billboard that says exactly what your soul needed to hear. These are not accidents. They are not coincidences. These are the subtle signatures of a universe constantly responding to your energy, your prayers, and your silent tears. These are moments when the divine intervenes, not with grand miracles that shake the sky, but with gentle nudges that realign your path without you even realizing it. And once you become aware of this language, it's like waking up in a world that was always talking to you. You just didn't know how to listen. There comes a time in everyone's life when logic fails to explain the direction their journey takes. You try everything in your power: planning, strategizing, executing, and still you hit dead ends. And then, without warning, something beyond comprehension begins to unfold. A door opens you didn't even know existed. A person enters your life carrying the solution to a problem you thought was impossible. You find yourself being pulled toward a path that you would have never chosen on your own. But somehow, it feels right. This is not mere luck or chance. It is a sacred orchestration, an invisible hand moving pieces on the board of your destiny, aligning you with what is meant for you. And often, it begins with a sign. One of the most powerful signs the universe sends you is divine timing. You might have prayed for something months ago, even years ago, and when it didn't come, you assumed the answer was no. But sometimes, the answer is not no, it's not yet. In the waiting, your soul is being prepared. The right people are being moved into position. The wrong ones are being cleared from your path. Opportunities are being shaped into form, so that when the time is perfect, everything aligns with flawless precision. You run into an old friend who offers you a job you weren't looking for. You stumble across a book that opens your mind in ways you never imagined. You receive a phone call or a message at the exact moment your heart was about to give up. These are signs dressed as synchronicities. They are not mere timing flukes, they are divine fingerprints. There's also the sign of sudden redirection. Life has a strange way of protecting you from things you thought you wanted. You get rejected from a position you were desperate to land. You lose touch with someone you loved deeply. Your plans fall apart without explanation. In the moment, it feels cruel, senseless, heartbreaking. But then time passes, and the same door that slammed shut becomes the reason a better one opened. It's not always easy to trust this process while it's happening, especially when your heart is invested. But often, divine redirection is disguised as disappointment. It's a way of steering you away from what was never meant to hold you. No matter how much you tried to convince yourself otherwise, the pain of letting go is sometimes the first step in being held by something greater. Another sign that the universe is speaking to you is through repeated patterns. If a specific number keeps showing up on receipts, clocks, license plates, it's worth paying attention. If the same phrase keeps being mentioned by different people in different places, there's something deeper trying to get your attention. The repetition is not random, it's a spiritual echo. It's the divine trying to pierce through the noise of your daily distractions to deliver a message. Sometimes it's a warning, other times it's encouragement. But always, it is personal, tailored, timed perfectly to your inner world. And once you become fluent in this sacred language of signs, you realize the world is never silent, it is always speaking. Then there are the dreams. Not all dreams are mere images of your subconscious, playing out random scenes. Some dreams are messages, sacred visits, prophecies. You might wake up with a feeling too vivid to ignore. You might dream of a place you've never been to, only to recognize it years later. You might see someone who has passed away, offering you comfort or advice. The veil between the physical world and the unseen is thinner during sleep. It is in that state that the divine often delivers the clearest signs, free from the interference of logic and doubt. That strange dream you had on the night you were ready to give up, that vision that kept returning to you night after night, it may not have been your imagination, it may have been your calling. And yet, even with all these signs, many people still feel disconnected from divine guidance. The truth is, signs are always being sent, but not everyone receives them. Not because they're not worthy, but because they're not present. If your mind is constantly overwhelmed with noise, if your heart is filled with bitterness or disbelief, it's easy to miss the whisper of the sacred. Just like a radio must be tuned to the right frequency to catch a signal, your soul must be in a state of openness to catch divine signals. That doesn't mean being perfect, it means being sincere. It means being willing to believe that the universe is kinder than you think, that God's mercy extends beyond what your logic allows. And once you shift into this posture of faith, you start seeing signs where others see silence. One of the most touching signs comes in the form of peace. After a long period of anxiety, doubt, or heartbreak, there comes a moment when, without any external reason, you feel calm. Nothing in your life has changed, but something within you has. It's like a divine assurance blankets your soul, reminding you that you are being held. Even when nothing around you makes sense, this kind of peace is not man-made. It doesn't come from motivational videos or surface-level affirmations. It comes from God. It is the quiet voice that says, "I'm here, I'm with you, I've never left." And when you feel that kind of peace, even if it's fleeting, know that it is a sign that something deeper is happening beneath the surface of your chaos. Animals often play a role in these divine signs. A butterfly appearing at the moment of sorrow, a bird resting near your window just when you were thinking of someone you lost, a cat that stares at you as if it knows your story. These are not random occurrences. In many traditions, animals are seen as messengers of the divine. They carry energies. They show up when your soul is in need of comfort or clarity, or a reminder that life is still beautiful. A deer crossing your path, pausing to look at you before walking away, can carry more wisdom than 100 books. The universe does not need language to speak to you, it uses presence, pattern, and timing. The signs are everywhere for those who choose to see. Sometimes the signs come through people. A stranger who says something that answers the question you've been asking in your heart. A friend who calls you out of the blue with exactly the advice you needed. A mentor who enters your life when you're ready to grow. People are instruments in the hands of the divine, often unaware of the role they are playing. You are not alone. The universe is not sending you signs just for beauty or poetry. It is guiding you, aligning you, healing you through the hands, hearts, and voices of others. When someone enters your life and brings sudden light, consider it a divine encounter. When someone walks away and leaves peace behind, consider it a blessing in disguise. Have you ever had a moment where your heart whispered something you couldn't explain, but you knew it was true? An unshakable feeling not to go down a certain road. A sense of warning before something bad happened, or the opposite, a sudden urge to do something you'd never normally do, only to find it was exactly what you needed. These instincts are not to be ignored. Intuition is one of the most powerful signs the universe gives you. It is how God speaks directly to your soul, bypassing the mind and its endless doubts. When your heart speaks, listen. When your gut clenches without reason, pause. These are not just feelings, they are frequencies. Messages coded in emotion and energy, designed to protect you or prepare you. Even pain can be a sign. In fact, pain is often the most urgent sign of all. When something breaks inside you, when life becomes unbearable, when everything you believed in collapses, that is the universe calling you to transformation. Pain has a purpose. It doesn't come to punish, but to awaken. It shows you what is false. It tears away what is hollow. It makes space for something new to be born. The breaking of your heart is not the end, it's often the beginning of real understanding, real love, real faith. The sign isn't just in what you lost, it's in what's trying to be born through the loss. Trust that even your tears are prayers, even your sorrow is sacred. And when you begin to understand this, when your eyes open to these signs, your entire life begins to shift. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You begin to walk with faith, knowing that behind every delay is protection. Behind every rejection is redirection. Behind every silence is a lesson. The universe is not indifferent to your suffering. God is not deaf to your prayers. The signs are already all around you, calling you, guiding you, loving you in a language older than words. You were never walking alone. You were just waiting to remember that the path was always lit. If only you'd look closer. There are moments in life that don't just pass by, they stop you in your tracks. You could be walking through a crowd or sitting in silence when suddenly the air changes. Something moves within you, not just in your thoughts, but deep inside your soul, as if a quiet message is being whispered directly into your being. Most people dismiss it as imagination or coincidence, but for those who are paying attention, it is a sign from the universe, a divine interruption, meant to steer your course towards something higher. One of the most profound and life-altering signs the universe sends is a deep sense of discomfort. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's the quiet unease that settles in your chest when you're not where you're meant to be. You can be surrounded by love, success, and even comfort, yet this strange hollowness clings to your spirit like fog refusing to lift. This isn't depression or anxiety in the clinical sense, it's the soul's way of urging you to move, to evolve, to get up and walk out of the life you've settled into because your destiny lies elsewhere. That discomfort is not punishment, it's divine instruction. The mistake people make is trying to medicate it away, drown it in distractions, or silence it with false affirmations. But this sign refuses to be ignored. The more you resist it, the more it shows up in unexpected ways. Relationships begin to break down, jobs grow intolerable, and your favorite routines start to feel like prisons. What you're experiencing is the call of destiny, and it's louder than your excuses. Another unmistakable sign the universe sends is repetition. If the same message, number, dream, or symbol keeps appearing in your life over and over again, pay attention. This is not coincidence. This is cosmic patterning. Whether it's 11:11 flashing on your clock every day, a certain animal crossing your path multiple times, or a sentence you keep hearing from strangers and books alike, the message is coded and deliberate. The universe speaks in symbols because symbols bypass the noise of the mind and speak directly to the soul. The repetition is the knocking at your door. The question is, are you going to open it? If the number 444 keeps appearing, it is widely understood as a sign that you are divinely protected and guided. If you see 555 repeatedly, change is not only coming, it is necessary. These aren't just cute ideas shared online, they have roots in spiritual traditions that span centuries. The ancients knew that the divine used signs to communicate with humans, and that nothing was random in a world ruled by sacred intelligence. Even in modern times, those who have real spiritual awareness recognize these patterns not as superstition, but as sacred whispers guiding them toward a divine appointment. There is also the sign of extreme stillness, where suddenly everything slows down, as if the world itself is holding its breath. You may find that things you used to chase no longer excite you, and people who once stirred your heart begin to fade from your spirit. This is not numbness, it is recalibration. The universe often removes the noise so that you can finally hear what you're meant to hear. It's the pause before the leap, the silence before the miracle. If you're experiencing this kind of spiritual quiet, do not panic. Do not rush to fill the void with noise, parties, or busyness. The stillness is holy ground. This is where God prepares your next chapter. This is where destinies shift, not with fireworks, but with a whisper. You are being invited to lean in, to surrender to the unknown, and to let the divine write the next line of your story. Sometimes, the universe sends people as signs. Not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some arrive only to deliver a message. A stranger who shares a story that mirrors your own struggle. A child who speaks with uncanny wisdom. A friend who calls at the exact moment you were about to give up. These people are not ordinary. They are messengers. Angels wear many faces, and often they are unaware of the role they're playing in your awakening. You don't need to force these connections. Their timing is perfect, and their purpose is precise. They are divine echoes sent to shake your heart and reawaken your memory of who you are and what you were made for. The most powerful signs, however, come not from the outside world, but from the inside. When your soul begins to yearn for something you can't name, when your dreams begin to take on a deeper intensity, and when your thoughts turn relentlessly toward something higher, you are being called. The divine is inviting you to walk toward your purpose. This kind of longing cannot be fabricated. It comes uninvited, unstoppable. It won't let you sleep. It won't let you settle. It will continue until you surrender. What most people don't understand is that this inner hunger is the greatest gift you can receive. It is proof that God is still working in you, that your story is not finished, and that you are not forgotten. The yearning is not a curse. It's a sign that your breakthrough is near. Another potent sign is when the world around you begins to reject you. Friends drift away. You are misunderstood. Doors that once opened now slam shut. This is not because you've failed, it's because you're being redirected. Rejection is protection in disguise. The divine is clearing your path. You were not meant to belong in places that couldn't contain your greatness. The loss you feel is temporary, but the elevation that follows is eternal. Don't fight the pruning process. Let what must fall, fall. When things are removed from your life, it's often because your destiny requires a different environment. One of the most sacred signs comes through nature. The rustling of leaves at the perfect moment, a feather falling beside you, a sudden breeze when you're deep in prayer. These are not coincidences. The universe, or more accurately, the creator of the universe, speaks through the elements. The Quran even speaks of how all things praise God, from the birds in the sky to the trees on the mountains. If you learn to observe, you'll begin to see that the world is alive with divine code. That sunrise you saw when you were on the edge of despair, that wasn't just a sunrise. That was a sign of mercy. That was God's reminder that light still follows darkness. One of the final signs that can alter your destiny is the undeniable opening of a door you never thought possible. You didn't plan it, you didn't chase it, yet it arrives. A job you didn't apply for, a person you didn't search for, an opportunity that feels tailor-made for your soul. These aren't rewards, they're divine appointments, and when they come, they often come after a period of intense struggle or surrender. This is the sign that you've aligned yourself with God's will, that your vibration has matched the frequency of your calling. This door is sacred. Don't hesitate to walk through it, even if it terrifies you. Fear is a final test before elevation. The universe doesn't just speak, it screams in symbols, whispers in stillness, and guides through divine interference. but it is only those who are still enough, quiet enough, and brave enough to believe that will truly understand the language. Most people will miss the signs because they're too busy arguing with their reality, but those who are tuned in, those who live with open hearts and clear spirits, will catch them. And those signs, if followed with sincerity and trust, have the power to change everything. Your life is not random, your pain is not wasted, and your journey is not invisible to the one who created you. The signs are real, they are sacred, and they are meant just for you, because your destiny, no matter how buried or broken, is still alive, still waiting, still burning with the fire of divine intention. And only those who trust the signs will reach the place they were always meant to find themselves in the life they were born for, under the sky they were created to walk beneath, toward a future already written in the stars and waiting to be claimed by the heart bold enough to say yes. Sometimes life gets so noisy that even the whispers of the soul get drowned out. And yet in those moments, the universe doesn't go silent, it starts speaking louder. Not with words, but with interruptions, strange detours, unexplained delays. A door you've been pushing open suddenly becomes sealed shut, no matter how hard you try. And just when you feel like nothing is working, something unusual happens, a pattern, a dream, a gut feeling you can't explain, or a person who arrives out of nowhere carrying the exact words you needed to hear. These aren't coincidences, these are cosmic signals, and if you're paying attention, they speak louder than any sermon, any book, or any voice. The universe is always trying to redirect you when you stray too far from what was written for you. That's why rejection often comes right before redirection. Because even when your heart thinks it knows best, God's plan operates on a frequency much higher than our limited understanding. Imagine standing at a train station, waiting for the train you believe will take you to your destination. But that train is delayed, canceled, or worse, arrives and doesn't open its doors. Frustration swells, and doubt creeps in. You start to believe the journey is over. But what if, at that very moment, another train, unplanned and unannounced, rolls up quietly on another platform? And what if that train leads to a destination greater than the one you imagined? That's how divine timing works. God's signs don't come with fireworks or sirens. They arrive with stillness and strange alignment. Your missed flight that saved you from an accident, the heartbreak that made room for the love that was meant for you, the lost job that pushed you into your passion. These moments feel like setbacks, but they're sacred interventions. The universe steps in when you can't see the cliff ahead. Sometimes silence is not absence, it is divine recalibration. There are moments in life when a deep sense of discomfort creeps in, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're not where you're meant to be anymore. Your soul begins to outgrow a situation, and everything starts to feel heavier. Your job becomes exhausting, your friendships feel empty, and your routines no longer bring peace. This internal disquiet isn't random, it's the first stage of transformation. God never strips you of peace without offering a higher peace in return. But to move you forward, the universe often begins by making where you are unbearable. You're being called to higher ground, but elevation often requires separation. And separation hurts. It's in these emotional aches, in these spiritual tremors, that signs begin to appear more frequently. The number you keep seeing on clocks, the same verse you randomly read 3 times in 1 week, the stranger who says something that sounds eerily like what you asked for in prayer. These are the echoes of a higher voice telling you to move. Sometimes signs come through resistance. The harder you try to force something, and the more it resists, the clearer the message becomes. You weren't meant to go through that door, or not at this time. The same way you'd pull a child away from a burning stove, the universe sometimes pulls you away from people, places, and plans that would burn your destiny. At first, it feels cruel. You cry, plead, beg for what's being taken from you. But one day, when the smoke clears, you realize it wasn't taken, it was replaced. Divine resistance is mercy in disguise, and the clearest sign that something isn't aligned with your purpose is that it steals your peace and crushes your spirit. Pay close attention to the things that make your spirit feel alive. Those moments where time vanishes and joy takes over, where you lose yourself in creation, in helping, in praying, in building something that feeds your soul. These are also signs. God didn't create you to feel hollow. He placed within you unique passions, interests, and instincts that guide you toward your divine assignment. When something aligns with your purpose, it energizes you, even when it's hard. There's a difference between tired and empty. The right path may tire your body, but will never drain your soul. If you feel depleted, broken, or bitter in a path you chose, maybe it's not your path, or maybe it was only meant to be temporary. Let the signs guide you back to joy, to soul deep peace. One of the most overlooked signs the universe gives is through people. Someone you barely know suddenly becomes a guide. A mentor appears just when you need direction, or someone you've trusted for years shows their true colors at the exact moment you're about to elevate. People are often messengers, and not all of them are meant to stay. Some only come to deliver a message, others come to awaken a wound, and some are removed from your life not because they were evil, but because your spirit outgrew the connection. Don't cling to people whose energy no longer matches your direction. Your growth may offend them. Your healing may expose their dysfunction. Let them go in peace, because every time someone exits, God is preparing someone more aligned to enter. Dreams are another sacred space where signs appear. You may dream of symbols, people, places, or events that don't make sense until later. Many prophets, saints, and mystics received revelations in their dreams. This realm isn't limited by logic or language. It speaks directly to your subconscious, to your spirit. If you're dreaming of the same person or same symbol repeatedly, don't dismiss it. Pray for clarity, ask for wisdom. The universe isn't trying to confuse you, it's calling you to awaken. It's reminding you that life isn't just physical. The unseen is far more powerful. Your dreams are part of that realm, and they often hold the key to your next chapter. When you ask God for a sign, be ready to see things you didn't expect. Sometimes the sign is not what you wanted, but what you needed. You might pray for success and face failure. You might pray for love and face loneliness. But remember, seeds don't sprout the moment they're planted. There's a hidden process at play. God never ignores a sincere prayer. He answers in a way that shapes your soul first. The signs you get may break your ego, test your patience, or stretch your faith, but they're pulling you closer to the real version of yourself. The one you were always meant to be. Synchronicity is another universal sign. When things align with no logical explanation, when you think of someone and they call, when you ask for help and someone shows up unexpectedly, when you speak your dreams out loud and an opportunity appears that matches them, this is divine choreography. The universe is arranging people, places, and events around your vibration. If your heart is pure and your intentions clear, you'll notice more and more of these moments. You'll start to live in a flow that feels guided, even magical. But this alignment requires awareness. You have to slow down, tune in, and trust that you're being led. And then there's intuition, that deep knowing that bypasses thought. It's your soul recognizing truth before your mind can explain it. That pull you feel to go somewhere, to speak up, to leave, to stay, to pause. That unease that makes no sense, but refuses to go away. That spark of excitement when you think of a certain path. These are not random feelings. They are sacred codes. God wired your soul to feel what's right before you can fully understand it. Don't ignore that voice. It is the compass to your destiny. Pain is perhaps the loudest sign of all. It's not a punishment. It's an alarm. It's the universe's way of telling you something is not right. Something must change. Something deeper needs healing. The wound is where the light enters. Your breaking point may be your turning point. If everything is crumbling, maybe you're being rebuilt. If everyone is leaving, maybe you're being prepared for solitude so you can finally hear your own soul. Stop asking why it's happening to you and start asking what it's revealing to you. The signs the universe sends are not tricks or mysteries. They are messages of love. They are answers disguised as problems, redirections disguised as losses, and blessings disguised as silence. But you have to listen. You have to be willing to pause, to pray, to trust, to wait, because the universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And those who hear it are those who slow down enough to listen. And the more you listen, the more signs will appear, until one day you look back at all the delays, the heartbreaks, the closed doors, the tears, the loneliness, the dead ends, and realize they were all signs pointing you home. Of all the signs the universe sends, the ones wrapped in silence, are often the most powerful. They don't scream for attention. They don't flash like a neon light. They come in whispers, in chills down your spine, in unexplainable peace right when your world feels like it's falling apart. It begins with a strange calm in the middle of a storm. When logic tells you to panic, but your soul tells you to rest, that peace isn't yours alone. It's a sign, a quiet message that something divine is holding you, guiding you. Most people ignore this. They mistake it for luck or coincidence. But for those who have trained their hearts to listen, they know this is no accident. This is presence. This is alignment. It is in these silent moments that destinies are rewritten without a single word being spoken. Sometimes you feel the sign before you understand it. A person exits your life and it hurts, but something deep inside whispers, it had to happen. A door closes, and before you even get time to cry, a window opens in the most unexpected place. These are not random events. These are divine orchestrations. God doesn't need permission to rearrange your path for your protection. He removes people, situations, and even parts of yourself that are no longer serving your highest good. The pain that follows is often mistaken as punishment, but in reality, it is refinement. He's sculpting your soul into something higher, preparing you for what your heart has been secretly praying for. There are signs that come through people, strangers, who say exactly what you needed to hear without knowing anything about your life. You could be sitting in a taxi or scrolling through a post online, and a sentence leaps into your heart with force. That's not just content. That's divine communication. A message sent in disguise, perfectly timed, perfectly worded, and undeniably clear. It lands on your soul like a soft thunder, shaking you gently but deeply. Your mind might question it, but your heart knows, this was sent for me. And when that happens, don't overanalyze it. Receive it. Let it move you. Let it guide your next step. Let it remind you that you are not walking blind. You are being guided by a force more intelligent and more loving than you can comprehend. At times, the sign is found in isolation. You pull away from everyone and everything, not out of bitterness, but because something is pulling you inward. This is a sacred calling. It is not loneliness, it is alignment. God isolates before He elevates. In the silence of solitude, He speaks the loudest. You start seeing your flaws clearly. You begin facing truths you used to run from. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. That inner confrontation is not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough. It's a sign that your soul is ready to evolve. When God pulls you away from distractions, it's because He wants your undivided attention. He wants you to hear what you couldn't hear in the noise. The more you resist this season, the longer it lasts. But if you surrender, if you sit with the silence, you'll find a version of yourself you didn't know was waiting to emerge. The universe also speaks through patterns. Repetition is never random. If you keep seeing the same numbers, hearing the same phrases, or running into the same types of people or situations, pay attention. These are not coincidences. These are cosmic echoes, divine nudges trying to get your attention. You might keep seeing 1111 or hearing the same song wherever you go. These patterns are energetic codes, and while the world may brush them off, the awakened soul knows better. These signs are like breadcrumbs leading you through a forest of confusion toward a clearing of clarity. Don't ignore them. Investigate them. Meditate on them. Ask what they're trying to tell you. God doesn't stutter. When He repeats Himself, it's because the message matters. Then there are signs that feel like discomfort. Your spirit starts rejecting environments it once tolerated. You get physically or emotionally uneasy in places you used to enjoy. You can't explain why, but your heart just doesn't feel safe or aligned anymore. That's not anxiety, that's protection. Your frequency is rising, and not everything can rise with you. This discomfort is not a flaw in your spirit, it's a filter. It's how your soul signals that it's time to grow, to move, to release. Honor that. Stop forcing your energy where it no longer belongs. When something feels off, believe it. The universe speaks clearly to those who are brave enough to feel deeply. A powerful sign many ignore is the return of old emotions or memories out of nowhere. You're walking through your day and suddenly remember a wound you thought had healed, or a person you thought you'd forgotten. This is not a setback. This is a resurfacing. The divine doesn't bring things back to break you. It brings them back to show you how far you've come, or to give you one last chance to heal what was left unattended. It's an invitation to deeper freedom. Don't run from it. Feel it. Learn from it. Release it. That emotional return is a sacred checkpoint, and what you choose to do in that moment will either bind you to your past or bless you into your future. Sometimes the most shocking signs come through loss. You lose a job, a relationship, an opportunity you were counting on. At first, it feels like betrayal, but later, sometimes much later, you realize it was mercy. What you wanted would have distracted you from your purpose. What you prayed for wasn't aligned with your destiny, so God removed it not to punish you, but to protect you. This kind of sign doesn't always come with comfort. It comes with tears and questions. But if you trust the process, clarity follows. The universe will never remove something from your life unless it plans to replace it with something better. That's a spiritual law, and the moment you start believing this, your entire life begins to transform. Another often overlooked sign is the speed of manifestations. When you are truly aligned with your purpose, things start unfolding rapidly. Doors open without you knocking. People appear who carry keys to your next level. Resources come out of nowhere. This is not just momentum, it's divine acceleration. The universe isn't rewarding your hustle, it's responding to your frequency. You've finally tuned into what you're meant to do, and now the whole cosmos is conspiring to assist you. Don't let fear slow you down. When God is moving, move with Him. Don't sabotage what you prayed for just because it arrived faster than you expected. This speed is a confirmation that you're walking the right path. Perhaps the rarest but clearest sign of all is an inner knowing that defies logic. You just know something is right or wrong. You can't explain why, but your spirit is loud and unwavering. This knowing doesn't shout, it speaks with certainty. It's a voice that doesn't argue. It just is. That's not paranoia. That's not fantasy. That is divine intelligence moving through your intuition, and it deserves your respect. The more you trust it, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, this inner knowing becomes your compass, and when you follow it, you find yourself in places that feel too perfect to be random. Because they aren't random, they are designed, they are written, and they are waiting for your faith to unlock them. These signs from the universe aren't superstitions. They are sacred truths whispered into your reality from a higher realm. They are gifts meant to align your soul with your purpose, your pain with your power, your confusion with your clarity. But to receive them, you must be willing to look beyond the surface, to listen with your heart, and to walk with faith even when the road ahead makes no sense. The signs are all around you. They have always been. You are not alone. You are not lost. You are being led, softly and divinely, through the language of the universe itself. What if everything you've been waiting for is already on its way to you, but the only thing standing between you and its rival is your own doubt? What if the final sign has already appeared, softly, quietly, perhaps even disguised as an ending? The universe doesn't always speak in thunderclaps, it often whispers. It doesn't always open doors with a bang. Sometimes it closes one, so you finally notice the hallway you were too scared to explore. There comes a moment in every life when everything feels like it's about to break. But what if that moment is actually when everything is finally coming together? What if that pressure you feel is not the weight of failure, but the force of rebirth? Some signs come as peace after years of chaos, not because the world outside has changed, but because the war inside your heart has. You begin to notice it when you stop craving validation and start feeling enough. Even in your silence, you begin to notice it when a sudden calm settles over you in moments that once triggered storms. That shift is not accidental. It is the voice of the divine, reminding you that growth is not always loud, it is often invisible. God's greatest signs are not always in the sky or the stars. Sometimes they are in your own transformation. There are signs that shake you awake, a dream that repeats every night, a stranger who speaks a sentence you were just thinking, a verse that jumps out at you from a book, a child who stares at you as if they know your soul. And then there are signs that soften you into awareness. The friend you needed calls just as you were about to break. A song plays with lyrics that describe your exact feelings. You feel a breeze in a still room as you ask a question in prayer. These are not coincidences. They are coordinates from the unseen realm, guiding you back to your written path. Destiny is not rigid. It is a script with edits allowed if only you pay attention. The signs that can change your destiny are not always grand. They are precise, a delay in a journey that saves your life, a heartbreak that reroutes you to your real purpose, a rejection that reveals your true strength. These signs are not punishments. They are protections. They are God saying, "Not this way. I have something better." But to see them, you must stop asking why me and start whispering, "What is this teaching me?" The universe doesn't send signs to impress you, it sends them to awaken you. When you are aligned with God, you begin to see that nothing is wasted. Every loss becomes a lesson. Every closed door becomes redirection. Every tear becomes a baptism for the next version of you. The signs intensify when your soul is ready to evolve. That's why the struggle gets worse before the breakthrough. That's why you lose people before you find peace. That's why it hurts the most right before it heals. There are times when you will feel like giving up, like you've asked and heard nothing in return. But what if silence is a sign too? What if the quiet is God's way of strengthening your trust? You wouldn't plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing. The signs you seek often need time to take root. When the silence feels unbearable, remember, faith is loudest in stillness. The universe hasn't forgotten you. God is never late. Sometimes He just waits for the moment when you are truly ready to receive. Have you ever felt a deep knowing in your gut, even when logic screamed the opposite? That inner voice is not your imagination, it's your intuition, the compass God placed within you. The more you ignore it, the quieter it becomes. But the more you listen, the more precise it gets. Your body knows when something is off. Your energy knows when a place or person is wrong. Don't betray yourself by silencing the signs your soul is screaming. That's not being paranoid, that's being spiritually sensitive. Signs also come in the form of repeated obstacles. If you keep hitting the same wall, the universe isn't punishing you, it's pointing you to a lesson unlearned. Life will keep giving you the same test until you change your answers. And when you finally pass, you don't just feel relief, you feel release. That's how you know it was a divine lesson. You don't carry the weight of it anymore. You don't need closure because peace has replaced the questions. You don't need revenge because wisdom has replaced the pain. There will be times when you are led to strange places, new cities, new people, strange timings, and it all feels random. But destiny is not chaotic. It is orchestrated. What feels like a delay may be divine timing. What seems like a mistake may be a setup for a miracle. Have you noticed how you only understand the signs in hindsight? That's because faith requires blindness. You walk first, and then the path appears. You trust, and then the reason becomes clear. The universe rewards those who follow without seeing the full map, because they trust the one who wrote it. Sometimes, the signs you receive will scare you, because they push you out of comfort and into calling. You'll be asked to leave places, people, versions of yourself you once loved. But God does not remove without replacing, and He does not subtract without multiplying. When a chapter ends, it's not the end of the book, it's the end of a setup. The signs are telling you, you're not being punished, you're being positioned. But if you don't move, if you resist, the discomfort will intensify until movement becomes your only choice. Some signs come through numbers like 1111, 333, 444. Too many. They seem like coincidence, but to the spiritually aware, they are divine nudges. 1111 reminds you to make a wish, but it also reminds you that the universe is listening. Repeating numbers are like timestamps from heaven, saying, you're on track, keep going. Pay attention to the thoughts you're having when those numbers appear. They are often answers in disguise. What were you thinking? What were you hoping for? That's the message being confirmed. Animals too carry messages. A butterfly that follows you could mean transformation. A black cat crossing your path might not be bad luck, it could be a reminder to trust your path. Even when it looks mysterious, feathers, coins, birds appearing out of nowhere, these are all signs that the spiritual realm is near. Dreams are another dimension through which God sends guidance. Recurring dreams, prophetic visions, or even waking up at the same time every night, all of these are signs that your soul is in communication with the divine. Your ability to receive signs depends on your willingness to believe. Skepticism is a wall, but belief is a bridge. When you live in alignment with higher truth, signs become second nature. They appear not because you beg for them, but because you're ready. Ready to see, ready to shift, ready to rise. You start to live and flow. Life doesn't feel like a fight anymore, it feels like a dance. And you no longer ask, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is this revealing in me? To recognize a sign, you must detach from noise. Noise from the world, noise from fear, noise from your past. The more still you become, the louder the signs appear. Meditate, pray, walk alone, listen. You'll be amazed at what comes through when the mind gets quiet, and you'll realize the signs were never far, they were just waiting for your stillness. God is not a distant force, He is nearer than your own breath, and His signs are constant. The question is, are you present enough to see them? This book is not just a message, it is a sign. If you've read this far, it means your heart was already searching, and the words you've read have not just entered your mind, they've awakened your spirit. You are not lost, you are being led. You are not broken, you are being rebuilt. You are not unlucky, you are being prepared. The universe is speaking to you not with noise, but with precision, through symbols, through synchronicity, through your own transformation. And when you begin to align with those signs, you align with the life you were always meant to live. So next time the lights flicker when you're deep in thought, pay attention. Next time your heart skips a beat when you hear a certain name, ask why. Next time you cry for no reason during a prayer, don't apologize, listen. These are not coincidences, they are answers. You are not crazy, you are connected. And the more you believe it, the more signs will appear. Because the universe doesn't send signs to the blind, it sends signs to the brave, the broken, the ones who dare to believe that their life was meant for more than survival. It sends signs to you because you are being called to rise. Because your destiny is still being written. Because your time is now, and the universe is whispering, welcome back. You are ready.